Mill chimneys. They were a vital cog in the prosperity of Great Britain's industrial towns and villages. They soared above the slate rooftops of every building around and belched out soot and smoke, blackening everything around them and creating smog-filled streets. Once a mainstay of every mill in the land, many were reduced to rubble. Fred Dibner had his share of many more. Some sit dormant, waiting for the demolition man, others restored to their former glory, reinforced for many decades to come. Some find use as climbing frames, others stick around for decoration. When it came to these chimneys, height was might, and it just so happens that that's a great rule of thumb when it comes to radio.
Hello, how the devil are you? Have you had a good week? My name is John, and you join me in Stockport by the fabulous M60 motorway.
Yep, stop trying to worm your way in on someone else's video, yeah? Anyway, this is Welkin Mill. It sits next to the M60 motorway at Stockport. No. And is very close to Pear Mill. Both have chimneys, and tall ones at that. Mills like this were still producing in the 1950s and 1960s, and even beyond, but by the 1980s, many were derelict and falling into disrepair. There was an effort to buy and renovate many of them to use them as storage and business premises, like this one at Goyt Mill. Pear Mill is a large business space, and Welkin Mill is very much the same, but what sets them apart is their chimneys. Welkin Mill has leased their chimney out to cellular companies, and probably for a very high price. This is great for both parties because the cellular companies don't need the same sorts of permissions they'd need to build a radio mast, and the mill will be making a large amount of money, which helps with its upkeep, so it's a win-win situation. What we have here is a Vodafone site at the top, and lower down is an O2 site. The O2 site was only installed a few weeks ago, so everything on the lower ring is brand new. These radio towers really do predate radio, and I bet the engineers that built these structures would never have envisaged this space-age looking technology wrapped around them hundreds of years later. Of course, not all mill chimneys are this old. There's a great example over on Bird Hall Lane in Cheadle. This is a slightly more modern chimney that is now used as a cellular site. What's interesting is you can see the old transmit aerial for what was Pure FM, a community radio station which later moved to another site. One thing that amazes me is that the signage for the old studio is still here. There's a similar mill in nearby Hazel Grove that's also home to a chimney. On the chimney is another example of a cellular site which has been here for quite some time. Now, no video would be complete without going down a huge Ringway Manchester rabbit hole, and if you're still with me, I'm going to take you down one. So if we travel back across Stockport to the town of Marple, we can see this amazing cellular site that I was fortunate enough to visit as part of my video on the pirate station KFM. This is Goyt Mill, and although its chimney was demolished in the early 1990s, there's a really large antenna farm built onto the roof which is owned and operated by various cellular companies. This serves the local area with mobile phone services, but there's also a network of point-to-point microwave links on the site too, which I thought we'd look a bit deeper into and try and trace the direction of the signals they're sending. The cellular infrastructure relies heavily on microwave links. They're everywhere, and wireless communications between our mobile phones is possible via microwave antennas installed on roofs of buildings or on dedicated communications towers. These links relay signals between phones or connect phones to the internet, and a lot of microwave sites are just links in a chain. The signals are super high frequency and they travel in straight lines in very narrow beams over short distances. Therefore, relays are needed every so often if a link covers a wide area in order to carry the signal along its path. So I managed to trace a few of the links from the top of Goyt Mill. The first one is an EE 38 GHz link which points southwest, transmitting 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers to a cell site at Norbury Farm in Hazel Grove. If we head over to Norbury Farm, we see this purpose-built cell site operated by two carriers. You can see the older equipment lower down and the newer equipment at the top. A closer look shows us the microwave antenna pointing back over to Goyt Mill. Back at the mill is another unidentified link which points northwest and transmits 3.6 miles or 5.8 kilometers towards a cell site in Bredbury. This site until recently had a large microwave dish pointing south and transmitting 15.1 miles or 24.3 kilometres towards Croker Hill, the nuclear-resistant Chilterns Tower over at Macclesfield, although I suspect there's a link in between somewhere near Bollington. Croker Hill is a hub for microwave links with dozens of transmitters up and down the tower beaming their signals in all directions, perhaps something for another video. Back to Goyt Mill, there's an 18 GHz BT microwave link that points northwest towards an unusual site mounted on this electrical pylon, near the village of Romiley, 2.5 miles or 4 kilometres away. The cellular equipment is mounted near the top of the pylon, on farmland which covers the Chadkirk and Offerton Green areas. This is another handy site for a cellular company because they don't need to build new towers, and of course the National Grid will be making money by leasing the space, so it's beneficial for both parties. Down at ground level you can see Pear Mill in the distance with its bare chimney. If anyone can shed any light on why it's called Pear Mill, then comment below. There's also another small chimney off in the distance with mobile phone antennas on it. The transmitter cabinets are in a small fenced compound, and smart water protects the site from theft. That is if these horses aren't enough of a deterrent. Near the top you can see the microwave link pointing back towards Goyt Mill. Looking across the small valley we can also see the Welkin Mill cell site where our journey started, with one of its uninhabited counterparts standing tall off in the distance. Further back you can make out Beetham Tower in central Manchester. As I panned the horizon I noticed this RC plane doing its thing, and just beyond a block of flats which is home to Greatest Hits Radio's FM transmitter site in central Stockport. And while we're here there's also this set of cell towers over by Middlewood, 3.5 miles away. Then there's this building a few miles off into the distance bristling with cellular and PMR antennas, and then another site caught my eye. This is Bowstones, a repeater site up in Disley near Lyme Park, exactly 6 miles away, which is home to the GB3MR and GB3MN amateur radio repeaters, as well as a police repeater and various PMR users. This is quite an interesting site and one we've covered before, as it attracted a few pirate stations in the late 1970s and early 1980s. If we go back to Goyt Mill a final time, there's this 23 GHz EE link that also points to a pylon at Romiley, but 2 pylons southeast in the line, 2 miles or 3.1 kilometres away. This pylon isn't as accessible, but the setup is similar to the previous one. The antennas are mounted much lower down however, and the microwave link pointing back towards Goyt Mill was obscured from view. If you're still with me, you might remember we started this video over at Welkin Mill. This has a microwave link too which points over to Hilton House, an office premises 1.2 miles or 2 kilometres away to the southwest in central Stockport. And if we look at all the places we've visited today and the path of the various microwave links we've looked at, well, I don't really know what the purpose of any of this is, but I find it interesting, so I hope you do too. I did say it was a rabbit hole. Did you enjoy it? Do you want to see more? Then let me know. Oh, and before I go, for those who don't know, the chap at the start of this video was John from Auto Shenanigans, a really good channel on a topic that I didn't even know I was interested in, motorways. If you're interested, then go and check out his channel, and a lot of people have been encouraging us to do a collab, so let me know if you'd like to see that as well.